So you want to be a leader. Absolutely fantastic. That's just what you want to hear. And you're in just the right place as well. But what sort of leader do you want to be? What sort of leader can you be? And how do you get started? Welcome to episode 2, Knowing Me, Knowing You. In order to be a great leader, you need to understand yourself so that you can understand others, as the title suggests. So what I'm going to do now is just spend a few minutes talking you through why I think that's true. So let's have a look at the first slide here. So on the first slide we have the definition of management. So for me this is about, it's usually about managing or delivering processes. Some people often use the phrase delivering through people, and that's really true. It is about the end product more than the people themselves. So as you see, the third point there is delivery first, people second. Also that I suppose it's the sort of belief that people are objects or things that help you deliver or process work, and whether it's a person or whether it's a piece of machinery or something else, it's just a means to an end. So for me, that's what management's about. Leadership, on the other hand, though, is really about setting the vision, inspiring people. It's creating the environment for success. It's about clearing the path so that people in your team and others can get on and deliver the things that they need to deliver. And it's about helping everyone to grow and to develop. So obviously this, in the definition I have here, the people side of things, the leadership side of things is all about people, and the management side of things is all about the end goal and the delivery. And it doesn't really matter how you get there. I mean, I sort of exaggerate to make the point. It's not quite as stark as that. But that's really the difference for me between management and leadership. And, if you buy into this as well, that leadership's about people and management's about the process and the things, you can see why you need to understand yourself. Because if you don't understand yourself, then how are you going to know your people? And for me, leadership, a lot of leadership is about making connections. It's about all working together as a single team. It's about working with your team. The diagram I've got there, a little icon there at the top, deliberately it hasn't got you at the centre. Lots of people, when they think of leadership and they think of making connections, it's a sort of hub and spoke model where everything revolves around the leader. For me, that's not true. A leader is a really essential part of a team, but it's not the centre of it. Everyone has a role to play. Everyone's important. So for me, I picked that icon because what you're interested in is your connection with your team, but also the connection between team members and others within the team. And you might not be involved in that at all. They might just be getting on with it. And we'll cover self-organising teams in a future video. That's more to do with the sort of digital leadership. But again, it's a really interesting way of doing things. It's also about having connections with your customers and with others. So your suppliers, stakeholders, other teams that you're dependent on or that you provide a service for. So it's about all of those people working effectively together. And again, how are you going to do that if you don't know yourself and you don't know others and how to get the best out of them? So for me, all of this comes back to self-awareness. What makes you tick? I've put in there what makes your team tick as well. I mean, that's not quite self-awareness. That's the sort of secondary step. But the starting point is, what makes you tick? What are you good at? What are you not good at? How can you use your strengths? What should you do about your areas for improvement? Should you try and work through them? Should you just try and get somebody else in your team who've got those strengths and you can tap into their skills instead? And, for me, one of the best ways of understanding, or at least starting to understand yourself, is through psychometric tests. Now, I have to say, when in my earlier career, when somebody said psychometric test to me, I was just thinking, oh no, that's not something I'm interested in, because they're going to tell me something I don't know, or I don't believe in them, I don't trust them. But I've done quite a lot of psychometric tests, and I suppose, like lots of things, they're a tool for you to use, and my recommendation is you should try them and see what comes of them. So let me just talk about a few that I've used and come across myself. So as you can see on the screen there, we've got three main types that I've used. The MBTI Myers-Briggs assessment is a psychometric test. The MBTI is a psychometric test based on Jungian psychology. So Carl Jung, many years ago, came up with a theory, and what came out of that was, I suppose, a series of steps and a series of measures to help you understand what your preferences are, what your personality preferences are. And that doesn't mean that you can't operate differently. It just usually means that it's more effort to do so. And what happens typically as well is that whatever your personality preference is, that's what you go to when you're under stress. So, when the going gets tough, the job gets tough, you tend to go back to your personality preference. And again, if you don't understand what that is, or why you're doing it, or in fact why you operate differently at other times when you're not under stress, again, you don't really know yourself. So as you can see there on the screen, the Myers-Briggs assessment is basically made up of 4 measures to do with energy, information, decisions and organisation. And you usually end up, you do end up with 4 letters that are typically the 4 letters that describe your personality type. And then there's a whole load of information behind that about what those personality types mean, what those letters mean. And again, that just helps you understand how you operate, and it will help you be a better leader, at least in my opinion. Again, some people, Myers-Briggs, they don't get on with it. Sometimes when they look at the assessment that comes out, they think, well, that's not for me. I mean, the trick with Myers-Briggs and the other assessments is to look at it and think, well, which of those bits make sense? With Myers-Briggs in particular, there are different types that you can look at, and I would recommend you have a look at some of the others as well. So read the descriptor to do with your personality type, but read some of the others as well to see whether that's a better fit for you or not. The second one is Belbin, and again, you might have heard of this one. This one's more about team roles and really how the team works together. And as you can see on the screen there are a number of different roles. So the completer finisher, the plant, the shaper, etc., etc. And again, there will be descriptors about each of those. And again, that just helps you understand how you fit into the team, what your role is in that team. But again, that doesn't mean that you can't operate in different ways, or you can't perform those other activities and duties. It just gives you a clue as to how you fit in and what your personality type is, what your personality preference is, and again, how you can work with others. The third one on the screen there is insights discovery, and you end up usually with a colour. So you end up somewhere on the colour wheel, and again, depending on where you are, that means certain things. So again, in my experience, this is quite useful and accurate. It seems to be based on the same sort of Jungian psychology as the Myers-Briggs. That's feels like that's the underpinning psychological assessment. And you can see there in the top right hand corner, fiery red, competitive, demanding, determined, strong-willed and purposeful. And in my experience, quite a lot of senior leaders come from that, or I say come from that segment. Their personality type tends to be in that red segment. Now, that doesn't mean that's a good thing. It doesn't mean that that's where you want to be, or in fact where you need to be in order to be a senior leader. I just think it's reflective of the fact that in order to get to a senior position, often you have to be quite competitive, demanding, etc., to get there. But if you've got too many people of one particular type, that's never good either. One of the other things I've come across, and in fact only recently, as I was pulling this video together, and this is an assessment from 16personalities.com, and I reached out to them over the weekend to find out a bit more about it. There's an online test that I did for free, and what I'm showing you here is my assessment that came out of that. I also got an email report, and I have to say, it all looks really, really good. This time though, it's not based on Jungian psychology. It's based on other psychological studies that have 5 dimensions rather than 4 dimensions. When I did my assessment, I came out as an INTJ-A, so those are the 5 different measures, and it gives you a really comprehensive description, and again all for free, of what in my case an architect is. And again, reading through all of this, it seemed to be really accurate. It seemed to really resonate with who I was. As part of talking to them over the weekend, they did give me a discount code for anyone watching this video. So it's a 20% discount for their premium service. So there are 2 levels as far as I can tell from the website. So if I wanted to have a look at a bit more detail and do, there are 30 more assessment tests I could do. I could do that purely for the architect personality type, and that's advertised as £29 currently on the site. So you can get a 20% discount from that. There's a much more detailed one as well that gives you access to all 16 personality types and the 30 tests as well. And again, that's with a discount code there, Learn and Grow. You seem to have 20% discount on that as well. Just for full disclosure, I'm getting no affiliate payment from them. I came across the site, it looks really good and comprehensive. And what I really liked about it was the free report and all of the information that you can see on the screen. So I say I'm an architect, and down the left hand side there you can see there are a number of different links. So if I just go on to the second one, I just started looking at strengths and weaknesses. And I'm not going to go into the detail of this because you can go and do the free test for yourself. And it might be that just doing the free test gives you everything you need and helps you assess whether that is who you think you are. And if it is, then there should be a host of really useful information in each of these links on the left hand side there. So I'll leave you to get on and have a look at that if that's your thing. One of the things I wanted to do as well, and this is really I suppose the last detail part of this video, and it's about the balance between management and leadership. And again, I just want to talk about that because it will vary as you go through your career. And what I've done here is I've created a chart based on my experience and knowledge about the balance of leadership to knowledge as you go through the different stages of your career. And as you can see at the bottom there, when we're a worker in a business, most of the activity you'll be doing is more management. It's all, in fact, at the worker level, it's neither management nor leadership, but it's more about the processes and delivery of the processes, which is why I put it down as management. There is a sort of, if you're a sort of natural leader, there will be an element there of leadership at all levels. And, you see this frequently in workplaces where even though people don't have a formal leadership role, they do nevertheless take control of things or help organise or, try and help others and develop others and get the best out of them. And, those are probably your natural leaders to look out for, if you're already in a leadership role. As you go up through the stack, then, you go to supervisor level, to manager level. The level of management in those roles is still quite high. But supervisor, I would say probably 90% of that activity is about how do you deliver the end result. And of course you do deliver it through people again, and with people. But I think, again, in my experience, it's more about the delivery of the activity than it is about how do you get the best out of people and some of the leadership behaviours that I showed on the previous slide. At a manager level, the proportion of leadership activity increases, and certainly when you get to middle manager level, I mean, personally, I like to call them leadership roles rather than management roles, because the majority of your activity then is about getting the best out of your people. It's about clearing the way, it's helping people develop, and as a result of all of that, you'll get the results anyway. You will get the delivery, but it's about the people first rather than the process first. And then when you get to senior management, again, the proportion increases. That's probably about 80% in my view. And then when you get to the C-suite, so sort of CEO, chief technology officer, chief finance officer type roles, a lot of that then is going to be leadership. And really what you should be moving into then, as you get further and further up that stack, is into strategic leadership and strategic leadership activities. But nevertheless, I've still put in a sort of segment, perhaps 5 to 10% of management. Because again, depending on what role you're in, sometimes you just have to get involved in a project and help it deliver, help move it along and get it to succeed. So sometimes you just have to focus on the output rather than on the people. Hopefully that's useful, and hopefully it's generated a load of questions in your mind. And for me, these were some of the questions I was thinking as I was pulling this together. What makes you you? What are your values? And there's a really interesting discussion about whether the values are your own or somebody else's. What's the best leadership style to adopt? What are the leadership styles that you could use? And how do I better lead my team? So what I'm planning on doing is doing videos on all of those and lots of other topics to do with leadership. So hopefully you found this useful. If you did, as ever, like, subscribe, comment. That just helps keep the channel going. And hopefully, you want to see more videos and even better quality videos as the time goes by. So hopefully that was useful. Start with yourself. I'd recommend you start with doing your psychometric tests. You can just go for the free ones to begin with. If you find them valuable and you want to go for paid versions, that's completely up to you. Okay, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.